Good afternoon, everyone. The session will begin in 5 minutes.
Ritu, is my voice clear? There's some background noise this side, so is it audible or is it too much?
Yeah, it's audible.
Cool.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ritu Shinde, co-team member of Revolution Software Development Club. I welcome you all to the React.js hands-on workshop. So, what is React? React is the most popular front-end JavaScript library created for building fast and interactive user interface in the field of web development. It is used by large companies like Uber Eats, Airbnb, Instagram, just to name a few, and also by many new startups. So you must be thinking, why should I choose React.js over other frameworks? First, React is time saving. In the case of React, we can reuse the code components at any point of time. And since the components are isolated to each other, it is easier to make changes. React also uses virtual DOM. It allows us to have a better user interface and it makes it more efficient to make changes. Other than this, React is fully supported by Facebook. It has a great community and is really popular among web developers. So as you can see, React brings many advantages to the table, making it a great choice for web developers. So without any further ado, let me invite today's speaker, Mr. Madhav Bahl. He is a software engineer at Microsoft. He also has his own YouTube channel called The Lean Programmer. So do subscribe to his channel. The link is in the description. So yes, sir, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Ritu. Thanks a lot for the beautiful introduction. And I was going to discuss about all the advantages of React.js, but you already did that for me. So thank you so much. That saves me time. And yes, so today we are going to discuss the basics of React.js, plus it's going to be a hands-on session. So I hope that you all of you guys are excited, and I can see a lot of people are attending this webinar. So yeah, if you have any doubt, you can put that up in the chat section. I am constantly looking at the chat section, so if you have any doubt at any point of time, feel free to put it up. And as Soham said, that please use Hindi, so it's easy to understand. Sure thing. Like if everyone is okay with it, I have no problem with the choice of language. So let me know the organizers and the attendees which language would you guys be more comfortable in. So I will be speaking in that particular language.
Yes, sir, any language will do.
Sir, we would prefer English, but sir, it's totally up to the viewer. So we would like you guys to put it in the chat box. So whatever you guys want, we will use that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So yes, all those who are watching this particular live session right now, you can just put it up in the chat section, and I will definitely follow whatever you guys tell me to do. Great. So most of the people are in for English, and some of them are in for English. Great. I have no problem with it. So yeah, cool. Okay. Okay, cool. So most of the people are with English. So Mohit, I have no choice. I'll have to go with English and a little bit of Hindi in between if you guys are okay with it. But yeah, let's not too much time. Let's not waste too much time over the choice of language, and let's get started. So I'll be sharing my screen very soon with you guys. And so, but before that, again, I just want you guys to know that I'm really thankful to the people from this particular club, Revolution SDC, so for organizing this webinar. Thank you so much for inviting me here, and I'm really glad to be able to interact with each and every one of you. So if you want to ask anything, or if you want to if you have any doubt in between, you can feel free to put that up in the chat section. Great. So I'll be sharing my screen now so that we can get started with the webinar. Just give me a moment. Cool. Awesome. So I hope that you guys are able to see my screen now. I have started sharing it, and let me see if the screen is being shared properly. Just give me a few more minutes. I am really sorry for the wait that you guys you guys have to do. But, let me just make sure that the screen is being presented. Awesome. So it is being presented. Very great. Awesome. So yeah, Biswajit. So Biswajit just asked me that can we use CDN in React.js? Definitely you can. Even so, React.js. The best part about React.js is that React.js is a library, and just like other libraries, you can feel free to import it using a CDN and not do too much of what do we call it, installations and all, and you can directly start using it. So yes, you can use CDNs. So that's just one of the many ways to use any particular library. Great. And before we get started, just a little bit of promotion. So as Ritu already told you, and as you guys might already know, that I recently started my own YouTube channel, and don't forget to check it out. It's youtube.com/theleanprogrammer. I upload videos every week, one new video every week, which are really informative, like 7 tips about competitive programming and 20 plus resources on where to get started with competitive programming and so on. So yes, and if you guys want to connect with me, I am open for network on linkedin.com/in/Madhav Bahl. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and now we can actually get started. Great. So before we go forward, I have a few things to tell you guys that okay. So as I told you that I'll be constantly looking at the chat section as well. So I will be looking at every doubt that you guys ask me. So Vaibhav just asked me that is React only limited to web development? Not at all. Not at all. So we are going to discuss about that in our session as well today. So don't worry about it. Cool. Let's proceed with it. Before we proceed with it, just give me a moment of time to actually set things up for you. Great. So I want all of you guys to actually just go to these two particular URLs. The link to this particular repository is mentioned in the description. In the description, you can go and check out the boilerplate code. So this particular repository contains the boilerplate code for our today's session. So what are we going to build today? We are not only going to discuss the basics of React.js and the concepts of React.js, like what is JSX, what is virtual DOM, what are states, what are props, and what are lifecycle methods, class types of components, class-based components, functional components, a little bit of introduction to React hooks and how to deploy to GitHub pages, all of that. Even apart from all of those things, we are actually going to build our own app today, and it's going to look like this one. So I hope that you guys are really excited. So you can just go to madhavbahl.tech/portfolio to actually see what are we going to build today. So it's a simple portfolio website, very simple portfolio website, but it actually looks cool, and you might see that this is pretty cool for a beginner. Like if you are a beginner, you can definitely host this particular website and it will look really cool. It has an about me section, it has a skills section which involves all the skills, and it has the project section. So this is what we are going to build today. But before we get started, I just want all of you guys to clone this particular repository. Why? Because as you might know, that installing dependencies and all those things takes a little bit of time. So we want to save that particular time, and we don't want the slow internet connection at anyone's end to be a reason for him or her to be lagging behind everyone. So we will be coding together today. So yes, I know you might not understand the code at this particular moment, but just clone this repository so that we are on the same page. What I want you guys to do is just build a playground directory or build a playground folder on your desktop or on your hard disk or wherever you want. And within that folder, just open command prompt, just cmd. And after opening the command prompt, all you guys need to do is type in this particular command, which is git clone and then this particular URL. this particular URL. Again, it is mentioned in the description. You can you can have a look at the description, and it is clearly mentioned boilerplate code, and then you can see it. Cool. So git space clone space the URL of this repository and press enter. So once you do that, it will actually download this whole source code into your local machine, and then the next step is going to be, we are going to install the dependencies. What are dependencies? Dependencies are basically third-party code or libraries or tools, which is any code snippet or any sort of code which is actually not created by us, which is actually which is created by someone else and maybe hosted somewhere, or maybe put into a package manager or anything. And we are leveraging that particular code which we have not made. So that's why it is called a dependency. So now we are going to install all the dependencies. So to do that, just one command, npm and install. That's it. And it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Not this command, because okay, let me just show you. Once you do, just let me delete it. And basically, once you do that git clone, it will basically clone this into this portfolio website. All you need to do is go inside that. So cd, that stands for change directory, and then portfolio boilerplate. Now you are inside this particular folder, and now you need to type npm install. That's it. Great. So Naveen just asked me that, may I know what is CDN? CDN basically stands for Content Delivery Network. Basically, it is your code hosted to a particular URL, and you can import that particular URL instead of downloading the whole dependency. That is called the CDN. Okay, so Aman is saying that desktop is stuck. That is weird. That's really weird. Let me share my screen once again, then stop presenting and then present again. That was weird. I have never actually experienced this screen is stuck. Okay. I have started presented it once again. So yes, Kaushik, as Kaushik said that we can download the zip, right? Yes, definitely. Either you can clone the repository or you can download it from here. So basically, I hope now it is visible. Yes, now it is visible. Cool. So basically, now what you can do is you can either download it from here, download zip, and extract this particular thing here. Once you extract it, it will look something like this, portfolio boilerplate. And after that, you just need to open the command prompt here. After you open command prompt, you just need to type npm install. That's it, like a simple command, npm install. Okay, so Vaibhav just asked me that, please, can you slow down a bit? It's hard to catch up. Definitely, I can slow down. No, not an issue. So I'll repeat this particular step once more, since my screen froze and a lot of people could not catch up. So let me just stop this particular process and exit my command prompt. I'll basically create a new folder. I'll start from scratch. I don't know why the screen freezed, but okay, what can we do? Technical issues happen. Great. So I'll basically, what did I do was I created a new folder. That folder basically was for like anything, we can say portfolio. And in that new particular folder, what I did was I just cloned this particular repository. It seems that, what is this, man? It's still frozen. I don't think it is now frozen. Okay, let me just take a pause and see the screen whether it is paused or not. No, it is not paused, so probably I can go now. So basically, till now I just created a new folder, and inside that folder I just cloned this particular repository, which is very simple. Which is, all we need to do is open the command prompt, and after opening the command prompt, we need to do git clone, git space clone space the link for the repository. Great. Okay, so Shubham just asked change laptop. How can I change laptop in between? Uh, People are funny. Cool. So git clone, git space clone space the link to the URL, link to the repository, and then press and enter. So now basically it will download the source code. Now all you need to do is you need to go inside that folder. Inside that folder, you need to cd portfolio boilerplate, and now npm install. That's it. Nothing else. Very, very easy. So do that, and that's going to take fairly 3 to 5 minutes, or maybe 10 minutes if your internet is slow. So yes, and by the time we are going to look at our React.js. Okay, cool. So Mihir just says, it says Git is not recognized. I see. So basically, Git. So you must not be knowing what exactly is Git and GitHub, since you don't have Git installed. So for you, Mihir, you can actually just download the zip and then open command prompt, and then you can open you can basically install, open command prompt and install the dependencies. Also, I thought that this will be obvious, but this isn't. So I am going to tell you one very, very basic thing. So before we go further, like if you need to do anything in this particular project, you actually need to download Node.js. So where are you going to download that from? You can download that from nodejs.org. Just this much, nodejs.org, and you can click on download, and you can download the LTS version. So yes, Aman, you need to download and install Node first. If you don't have Node installed, basically we are just going to use npm as our package manager. If you don't have Node, you should either have Yarn. You should either have Yarn, or you should have Node. Either npm would do or Yarn would do. If you are using Yarn, Yarn stands for YARN. These two are basically package manager. Either you can download Yarn or you can download Node, which is the package manager for which is npm, which is Node Package Manager. So then you can do npm install, or you can do a Yarn install. I see. So Akash is saying that found 3 vulnerabilities. So basically, some particular packages in the Node.js Node Package Manager might have some vulnerabilities. We can easily remove them by doing what do we call it? Let me remember. Audit, npm audit. So the study about npm audit. So you can easily do an npm audit fix. Just maybe that can be a sort of assignment for you guys, or that you can take it as a homework. How to remove the vulnerabilities from external dependencies. Generally have these particular vulnerabilities, security vulnerabilities and all. So you can easily audit fix them. Just search on Google how to audit fix. npm audit will help you guys. So yeah, great. Awesome. So now we'll not spend too much time in it. We have already did a lot. Cool. So by the time this is going on, so now let's get started with React.js. So about me, I should have shown the slide earlier, but I couldn't because I had to make you guys download the dependencies and all. So yeah, that was also important. So yes, I am just another guy who is into development, tech blogging, self-help blogging, podcasting, mentoring, teaching, YouTube, making YouTube videos, helping startups and community building, and most of it still exploring life. So yeah, not talking too much about myself. Great. So before we start, that was just ignore this part because I recently changed my username from Madhav Bahl MD to Madhav Bahl. So you can ignore that particular slide because I've already told you. So my username now is github.com/Madhav Bahl. Earlier it used to be Madhav Bahl MD. So yeah, cool. Why meetups and webinars? Basically, that's a question for all of you guys, that why do we need meetups and webinars when you can learn everything on Google? So basically, the simple answer for that is, like, I generally prefer meetups, webinars, conferences a lot. I can say much more than YouTube videos and tutorials and so on, because because you can find in the meetups and webinars, you can find like-minded people, you can increase your knowledge, you can network with them. So basically, again, I am going to network with all of you guys, so I basically want all of you to send me a connection request on LinkedIn and a chance to discuss about new trends, topics, and advancements in tech. So basically, as Shubham just asked me that which is better, React or Angular or Vue. So that's in the webinars and meetups, you can basically interact with each other. So that's the best point about it. So basically, why which one is better? All three of them have their own separate advantages and disadvantages. I prefer React most of it because, first of all, React is very, very fast. React is much more smaller than Angular. Angular is like something very big. It's a huge framework which comes it contains everything that you might need for your development, and it's a it's basically a whole development environment, and you might not even be using most of the stuff that you are actually importing while you are in your development environment. So yeah, for medium to small to medium sized projects, I generally prefer using React. Even in big projects, nowadays people are using React. Angular is still famous, but yes, the growth of React has been exponential. So yeah, at this particular moment of time, it will be more beneficial, or I would say it would be more better to actually go with React or Vue. Vue is still increasing, but the job market actually has been monopolized by React. React is ruling the job market right now. So yeah, React would be a very, very good choice. But yes, cool. Is Flutter faster or better than React? Not at all. I would not say that, because the thing is, Flutter was initially a framework for cross-platform development, app development, not for web development. I know that recently they have extended their support to build websites and web apps, but still, it's not as famous. React, there are many. You can't even imagine how many production-ready softwares are there in the market which use React. But for web development, Flutter is not that much famous. So as of now, it won't be an answer that Flutter is not at all better than React, because I already told you the reason. But that's the current statistics. No one knows the future. So I think for at least 1 or 2 years, it's going to remain the same. No one knows after that. Things change very fast. Cool. So what about, Vaibhav just asked me, what about Flask? Flask is a back-end development framework and React is a front-end development framework. So yeah, that's a homework for you, Vaibhav, to actually search more about Flask and all. Cool. And plus Flask is written in Python and React is in JavaScript. There are endless differences, but the thing is, React is for front-end and Flask is for back-end. So cool. So today's agenda is that first of all, we are going to discuss why React. Ritu already covered most part of it. So yes, I can save time on that one. And then we are going to discuss the basics of React, like components, one-way data flow, unidirectional data flow, JSX, states, props, lifecycle methods, sample architecture, what's going to be the architecture for our app, and then we are going to start coding. But seeing the pace, seeing the speed at which we are going, it's been 22 minutes and we haven't even started coding. Seeing the speed, I don't think I will be able to cover the deployment part. So yes, you can take that as another homework. So yeah, cool. All right. So first of all, why React? Okay. Even before going forward, I'm just going to tell you for two things. So basically, React is a JavaScript library that is used for building beautiful interfaces, and that is having a lot of advantages. Like it uses virtual DOM. It is very, very fast due to concept of virtual DOM, that whenever we make any change to our state, only the components linked to it will refresh. So basically, we can do something like we can just change the state and everything will happen automatically. So it makes the lives of us developers super easy. So many questions. Let's go slow. All right. So Vish just asked me that why Redux is an important part of React. You are mistaken, Vishwa. Basically, Redux is not at all a part of React. We use Redux along with React, but it's not at all limited to React. We can never. It will be very wrong to say that Redux is a part of React. Redux basically follows a concept. It's called the Flux architecture. It follows a concept. That particular concept can be applied with other libraries, other frameworks as well. So Redux is more of a concept than a part of React. React Redux, when we use React Redux, we are basically using Redux along with React, which makes our life very easy for state management. As you are going to see in today's video, in today's session, today's workshop, that we are going to handle state, and we are going to handle a lot of data, and some particular data. For example, if you guys can see my screen, some data, that this is the one data that we have to see in about section. This is the data which we have to put in the skill section. This is the data which we have to put in our project section. So when we are handling with a lot of data and a lot of component at this particular level of project, it's a very small project. At this particular level of project, it's very easy. But consider a project, for example, at the level of Facebook. For example, if you are building a Facebook clone, a complete Facebook clone, the state management, trust me guys, becomes very difficult. I'm going to talk about that in the further section as well, and that's where Redux comes into the picture. So yeah. Riju just asked me that, can you tell me the difference between Django and Node.js in terms of efficiency? I will not discuss that today because that is not at all related to this topic. Otherwise, if I go on discussing, we will never end this webinar. So yeah. Cool. So Kaushik just asked me that we should concentrate more on JavaScript to adapt and be great in dev than debating with frameworks. Just give me a moment, guys. My throat is paining. Just give me one moment. I'll be back. So, Kaushik, it's a good statement, and it's not a complete statement. I would say that you should definitely concentrate more on JavaScript, but you should be actually concentrating, focusing on frameworks as well. Because the thing is, the job market these days, I don't think any of that big production ready applications would be using vanilla JS. If you know that what is vanilla JS is basically a term which is used for JavaScript when it is used without any library or framework. So it's highly obvious that most of the applications, or I can say that none of the applications, would be using vanilla JS in production. So yes, it is true that we should be concentrating on JS. First of all, obviously, we should be familiar with the concepts of JavaScript. Otherwise, it would be illogical to dive into React, or let's say Vue, or Flutter, or not Flutter, or Angular, or so on. But after we know enough JavaScript, I think it's a good option to decide which framework are you going to learn, or which library are you going to learn. So yeah. Cool. Okay. Cool. I think we are pretty much there. So yes, as I was talking, React is a library, and today we will be using Create React App. Basically, it's another library which gives you a sort of boilerplate to start building your React. Yeah, Master 300, you are saying correct. It would be difficult to complete the project at this pace, but don't worry, we will make it. I am here from 3 to 4:30 or 5, right? Don't worry, we'll manage it out. Don't worry. So yes, today we will be using Create React App, and Create React App, as you can say, is basically gives you a boilerplate on top of which you can start making your React applications. Otherwise, if you don't use Create React App, if you have to set everything up yourself, it's going to take a a lot of time. Like you might need some plugins, you might need a compiler, a transpiler, you might need packages like bundler, let's say Webpack, and you might need a transpiler like I know these words might be going above your head. Basically what it means is that uh, for example, okay, let's discuss it afterwards. But yeah, we just keep this in mind that we will be using create React app. So I have followed this step, like npx create React app and my app, and then so basically this is just for our playground, not for our boilerplate code. So what I did was I just typed in this command. Don't worry about this. This is just for creating a playground to get you familiar with the concepts of React. What I did was I just typed in this command npx create React app playground. This is not at all related to our app. This is just to get you familiar with the concept of React, and then we will be jumping on to the application that we are building today. So yes, why are we learning React? As Ritu already told you, it has a very smooth learning curve. It gives you reusable components. You can pick up one component from one project and put it into other project and use that component same. And fast rendering with virtual DOM, great dev tools, great dev community. Like if you have any doubt, if you are facing any issue, you can just put it up on Google, and I can say 99% of the times you will find an answer to that. So it has a great dev community, proper modularization, clean abstraction, and React Native, React Desktop. As someone asked me, I remember that someone asked me in the beginning of this session that is React only for web development? Not at all. Using the concept of React, you can develop for any device. Using React Native, you can actually develop for iOS and iPhone and Android. Using React Desktop, basically this thing, React Desktop, you can actually build desktop applications. Using React Hyper, I think it was React Hyper, I'm not sure what was the name. You can build command line tools as well. So React is one-stop solution for everything. Cool. And the basic concepts of React components. Components basically, as you can see, is nothing else other than the as you can see, what all components do we see on the screen. For example, let me give you the example of this particular thing, which you can see on the screen. What is happening here is basically this might be a component, this might be a video component, this might be here, this might be a chat component, this might be a title component, this might be a like dislike component, and so on. So there are a lot of components. So basically yes, as you can see, for example, if we take into consideration this particular thing here, this particular website. So as you can see here, there's a banner. This can be one component. There is a comment form. This particular thing can be a component. There can be a comment list. This can be a component, and there can be the comment itself. This can be a component. So each and everything in your app can be divided into components, and that component can be reused in your app itself and in other apps as well. So one directional, unidirectional data flow, basically what it means is it follows a hierarchical structure. For example, in the example which you can see in your particular screen, what we are seeing is, let's say we can have a top level component called app. Within that top level component, we have three components. First one, banner. Second one, comment form. Third one, comment list. And within that comment list, we have another component that is a list of comments. So yes, as you can see. Cool. And yeah. So basically, we can see this particular unidirectional data flow. For example, from one of my other applications, which is Pokédex application. So in one of my other webinars, I actually created a Pokédex application from scratch. So this is a simple application. You can see here what all things does. It gives us the list of Pokemons and the welcome screen. We can type on any particular Pokemon and it gives the details. So, and we can even search. So for example, Venusaur, you can even search it. So looks cool, right? So basically what we might have done here is there might be this particular component, like firstly there would be some sort of an application, a top level, a root level application. Then there would be a maybe a Pokédex component. This thing seems to be a Pokédex. Then within Pokédex there seems to be, first of all, sort of let's say, what do we call it? What should we call it? A Poke list container. Let's say a Poke list container, and this one can be a Poke result, Poke search result, something like that. This thing can be a search box, and then this thing can be a Poke card. So there are n number of components in which we have divided our app. So here, what we are seeing is top level component is app. This is the top level component. Then there is this Pokédex component, this thing which we are calling as Pokédex component. Then we have a list of Pokemons, which is PokéList component, and at the side of it we have PokéSearch result component. So this is called a Poké. Like, I'm just calling it this. These are no names. I have just named it myself. And within the PokéList there is a search box and there is a Pokemon card. Not a. There are many Pokemon cards. So yeah. Okay, and cool. So what do I mean by unidirectional data flow? By that I mean that the data can flow from one component to its child component only, or more or less we can say that it can flow from child to parent as well using the callback functions, but not with the sibling components. So for example, Bulbasaur to this, we cannot directly transfer data from here to here, Charmander to here, but still we are doing this. So we do this using something like, whenever we click on that Poke card, it triggers a function here, and then it triggers a function here, and that function triggers to change data here. Something like that happens. So as you can see, someone was asking that why do we need Redux? So as you can see, for small level applications, this seems to be fair enough. Like, we click on a Poke card. So this is a Poke card. We click on a Poke card, and what happens is that we have to this particular click method triggers something, like triggers anything. It does something to this Poke list component. This is a Poke list component, this whole container, and then it triggers another thing in Pokédex. And then what happens is, then this Pokédex sends something, it sends some data to the Poke search result. So that is basically the data is transferring from here to here to here to here. What if we could just directly communicate from this Poke card to Poke search result? So that basically Redux helps a lot in doing that. Basically, what it does is it takes out our data, our container of data, into a particular store. So basically, let's say this is our component. This is our tree structure of components. And now we have states. Basically, now we have data in every component. So what we will be doing instead is we will have a separate component, which will be not component. We will have a separate container for the data, which every component can access. So now instead of basically transferring the data from PokeCard to PokeList to Pokédex and then to Poke search result, we can directly call that particular store. That store, you can see it as a market, and we'll just tell him that I need to do this and this will do this. That's it. So that's the concept of Redux, is that as simple as that. But Redux actually requires some time to understand. So it is out of the scope for today's webinar. Don't worry, we will not be discussing Redux today. We will just be discussing the basics of React. Again, we'll be taking 1 minute break here because, as you can see, my throat is messed up today. Okay, so I'll be taking 1 more minute break, a water break, and then I'll be back. And then we'll be starting to code our particular application. Cool, guys. So I hope that there was no problem till now. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask them in the comment section or in the chat section. So yes, getting back to our today's topic. So basically, another thing to remember, another concept for React is lifecycle methods. What are lifecycle methods? Basically, our particular application can follow various life cycles. For example, if we want to trigger something as soon as the app is or the components is put on the screen, then we might need to do something. What if we need to do something whenever our component is taken out of the screen or whenever the data is being changed in particular component? So basically there are method. What does method means? You all know method means a function itself. Basically whenever we use a function that is that inside a class, that is called a method. So these things are called lifecycle methods. So as you can see, there are various methods, and trust me, all like we are moving towards functional components these days. So you might not even see people using them a lot in the newer projects, but in the previous projects, we just used to have more of class-based components than functional components. Now instead of using these lifecycle methods, we use React hooks. One of the most used React hook is basically use effect, and if you are more interested about that is more about don't worry. So Moniz just asked me to zoom in. Don't worry about this. This is just a flowchart. You can see them in my presentation, which is madhavbahl.tech/ccppt, and don't worry about that. So basically these are just some methods. For example, component did mount, component will mount, component did update, component will update, component did unmount, and component will unmount, and so on. For example, I can say something like if I want to jump from about me to skill section. So this about me section is going to get unmount. Unmount basically means removed from the screen, right? So as soon as I do this, so for example, what if I need to do something? What if I need to display an alert as soon as this component gets out of the screen? So basically what we can do is use a component did unmount. That's it. And so these are some basic methods which follow basic React life cycles, the life cycle of a component. What should we do as soon as the component is put into the screen? What should we do as soon as the data of that particular component is getting changed? And what should we do if that particular component is getting removed from the screen? All that is. Cool. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. So now we are going to jump onto the code. I hope that you guys are really excited about it. First, I'm going to show you some simple concepts of React. So for that, I have created a boiler playground repository. You don't need to do that. You just need to see right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it in my text editor. It is VS Code. I really recommend everyone should use VS Code. I really love using VS Code. Oh, not here. I should be using it inside playground and then code dot. Let me know if you guys are stuck somewhere or if you guys need help anywhere. I will stop and ask your questions, revert back to your queries. I'm really sorry for that. It's really difficult to speak a lot, especially I have 2 webinars today. So I need to save a little bit of my strength as well. So yes, basically, as you can see, the structure of React application, basically it contains a public folder. Within public folder, we just have some things like index.html, and to your surprise, we will not be doing anything in our HTML part. So basically, coming back to our basic concept, so there was one concept called JSX. What does this JSX mean? So basically, JSX means nothing but HTML inside JavaScript. So what we are going to do today is React, basically what it follows is it brings the concept of HTML components like HTML tags like head, body, div, h1, h2, p tag, and so on, anchor tag, image tag, and all these things within your JavaScript file. So I hope that you guys are having a little bit of knowledge about HTML and JavaScript. So yes, as you can see here, we will not be touching our HTML part at all. So yes, but in case you want to do something like change the title, like my playground or something like that. So what you can do is you need to change the HTML thing. Also, I will be running this using npm start. So this is a very simple command, npm start, that will start your React application. So yes, this is what create React app gives you. So I was talking about create React app in the beginning, right? This is what create React app gives you as a boilerplate code. So yes, we can now close most of the things which we have open. Cool. So this is what create React app gives you. So coming back to this particular thing, what we can do is we can jump onto the app. So basically what we have is there's one public folder, then there is this source src folder. Everything that we need to do, most of the things are going to be inside src. Our src folder will contain all the code for our application that we are going to build. So as you can see, first of all, the entry point of any React application is this index.js. Basically what it is doing here, it is calling the React DOM.render method, in which we are calling our app. Our app is basically the top level component, and inside our app, basically here we just have this HTML, a little bit of HTML, which you can easily understand that here we have a header, we have an image, we have a p tag, and all those things. So it looks something like this. Okay, so what we can do is I can remove everything and let's say h1. Hello. And now basically what will it do? It will start looking like this. Cool, right? So this is called a functional component. So let's say I need to create. This is how sort of React component looks like. First of all, you can remember three parts. First of all, importing the dependencies. Here we are just importing our CSS file. Second thing is our component itself, which is going to be the functional component or a class-based component. Don't worry, I am going to tell you what do we mean by a component, what do we mean by a functional component, and what do we mean by a class-based component. And third thing is going to be our export statement. So from our export, basically we are exporting this app, which is getting used inside our index.js, which basically proves my point of modularity, right? It is following proper modularization and clean abstraction. Every particular component can be stored in separate file and functions and classes and so on. This is beautiful. React is, I can't tell you how much I love React, and it's really beautiful. So yes, looks cool, right? And then what we are going to do, let's say we just want to create another component, which will be anything which is going to discuss which is going to render anything, hello world or anything like that. So let's say I create a new component named banner. So now basically, as you can see, a functional component is very, very simple. All we do is we create a function and then we return some HTML from inside it. That's it. That's a component. And the class-based component, whereas might be a little bit maybe complex to understand than functional components, because it has a lot of classes, and also, yeah, don't worry about that. You will understand it very easily. Cool. So let me start. Basically, first of all, as you remember, first one, import statements. So here I'm going to import my React library from React, and then I can also include component. Basically, React, this component class, basically this particular thing, class component, we can extend our classes. So if you know the concept of classes and objects, what we are going to do is we are going to extend our class named banner. We're going to extend component to our banner class. So basically, this will allow us to create a React component. This is how a React component looks like. And then we just need to, instead of directly returning, as you already know, class is a class and function is a function. A class contains data members and data methods. A function just takes some arguments and returns some things, right? That's it, right? So this thing basically for now, again, you just need to see and understand concepts. The hands-on coding part is going to be coming soon. So yeah, don't worry about that. For now, just try to understand it. And Vish just asked me that why do you write component within curly braces? So basically, there's this thing called a default export and a normal export with non-default export. So basically, what we can do is the things which are exported by with the keyword default. So as you can see here, this export default app, as you can see, it is a default export. So whenever we are importing this particular function app, we don't need to use that inside a curly brace. We can directly use it like import app from /app. This will work. But if it was not default, then basically we would need to do something like this. So that's pretty much all about it. You can read more about default exports and all in JavaScript, but don't worry about it for now at least. So yeah. Cool. So now our class banner. So here function will have to return an a JavaScript. So yeah, an HTML basically. But a class-based component has this particular sort of structure. It will have a, like, first of all, whatever HTML we need to render, it's going to be inside a render method. That's it. And from render, we are going to return, let's say div, and within div, let's say h2. And that's it. Like, this is our class-based component. Basically, what we are doing is in functional component, we are directly returning an HTML stuff from our function itself. But in the class-based components, we have render. And as you might have guessed, where is this render coming from? This render is coming from this component. As you can see, if I go inside this render, index.ts, we have the definition here. See, the best thing about React is it's completely open source and you can see the source code itself, and that's beautiful. So yes, all you need to do is export default banner. Now, as you might have guessed, we are going to use this particular banner inside our app. So again, what do we need to do is we can just use banner like this. So basically, we have imported banner from our banner class, and we are using just like an HTML component. Isn't it beautiful, guys? That we are like, this is a pure HTML component, and this is a React component. So we are able to use our things just like we do things in HTML, and that's the beauty of JSX. All these things are called JSX, HTML inside JavaScript. Cool. And as you can see, our page has rendered and it shows, hello, this is my component. And as you can see that this is my component is actually coming from banner. If you have understood this thing, trust me guys, you have won 25% of the war today. Like 25% of the thing is actually yours. So Cool Coder just asked me that what is render and why are we using it? So basically, again, to create our components, functional components are very easy because in functional component, we just need to create a function which returns HTML. But in class components, we need a method that will return our HTML things, right? There should be a method which is going to return our HTML stuff, and render is that method. As I told you, Cool Coder, that render comes from React component class. This class is what React provides us, and this is how things are structured in React. This render component, this render function will return our HTML things. That's it.
Hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Can you please increase the font size of VS Code?
Yeah, sure. Now is it cool?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool. Okay. So Shubham just asked me that if we use the banner tag in HTML, so that's the difference, right? Banner tag. So I don't know whether there's a banner tag in HTML or not. Okay, so you are saying that can we use banner tag in an index? No, you cannot. Everything has to be inside JavaScript, right? This banner is not a HTML thing. It's not an HTML stuff. So as you can see, if I try to write this in my HTML, you will probably not get anything. Nothing. It's not there, right? You're not getting any suggestions. So yes. And again, one more thing now, now I'm coming to why are we using create React app. Basically, as you can see, this is not at all HTML. This is called JSX. All this thing like returning HTML from inside JavaScript function, this thing is called JSX. And JSX by default is not supported by browsers. So we need a transpiler like Babel. Babel, basically you can search more about it. So basically, like there are transpilers which convert, basically you will see that all these things will be converted into HTML and JavaScript, normal vanilla HTML and JavaScript. So if we don't use create React app, we will have to set a transpiler for ourselves so that we can see our things up and running. So yes, that's create React app basically does some things, basically makes things easier for us, and that's it. Nothing less, nothing more. Cool. So Vish just asked me that class components are complex to understand. So why do we use class components? Why don't we only use functional components? Very, very good question, Vish. So basically, the thing is class components are very powerful. So first of all, we can have states like, let's say, and then we can have the data in our class components. Yes, if we can do that in functional component as well, but that is something modern. Earlier it was not there. Now we have React hooks. Now we have all those things, but still earlier we used to do like this, and still a lot of projects use class components for state management instead of using hooks. So yes, now we have two options. So we can look, let me just explain you why are we using class component here. For example, let's say a simple counter. So what we are going to do is we are going to increase, and let's say a p tag. So what this is going to do is basically this stands for this class, right? And this class will have this object called state, and within our state we can have a counter. So now coming to the concept of states, I'll answer your question, Vish, just give me a moment. So yes, we have this concept of states and props. States and props. So listen to me clearly. A state is nothing else than a container of the data that we need to display on the screen, which can change with time. Let me repeat myself. A state is nothing but a container of the data which we need to display on the screen, or which we need to have some logic, and which might change with time. Any data which we are using and which might change with time is called a state. That's it. And props are basically the data which we are going to pass from one component to other component. So yeah, so Akshat just asked me we could use state functional component, right? Yes, definitely, Akshat, you can. So if you are asking so much for it, then okay, I'll ask. Let's not go about that, otherwise people might get confused. So yes, basically, okay, let me just show you an example, then we can do that. We are running out of time, but okay, cool, that doesn't matter. So all right, this dot state, cool. So now basically it will display count equal to 0. Let's wrap it inside our h2 component. Count 0. So what we can do is we can add an on-click method here. And on the onClick method, what we can do is we can create a method, let's say const, let's say, what should we create it? Update counter. And now basically what we are going to do here is, just forget about that. So yeah, that's how we are going to declare our functions. So basically what we are doing here is we need to update this counter. So what we are going to do is, let's say for now, counter has to be updated. That's it, right? And what we are going to do is on click, we are going to call this update counter. Cool, looks cool, right? So now basically whenever we click this H2, we are going to see this alert. That's that exactly how we thought of it. So now what we need to do is we need to update this counter, right? Now I'm going to do something which you should never do, but I'm going to do it because to show you that why we should not do it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this dot state dot count plus plus. Let's try it out. Nothing happens. Like we are displaying the state here, right? Just to show you that things are happening. Hello. Like it gets triggered, but still, and we are updating the count in our state, but still it's not getting updated. We called it, but it did not update. So basically what happened here is the count inside our state actually did get updated, but this component did not get updated. And that is why we should never, always keep this in mind, always keep this in mind that that never ever directly change the state of your component. So Cool Coder just asked me that how can we use Visual Studio Code for React? Any pre-required setup? No pre-required setup is required, but I have a blog written in which I have written the plugins which I use for my VS Code for React. So yeah, I can share it with you at the end of the webinar. But yeah, for now, let's focus on this one. So where was I? Yeah, we should never do this. Instead, I hope you understood that what was happening here. What happened was that whenever we click on this particular H2 element, the count actually gets updated. But what happens is it is not re-rendering this component. The count was updated, but the display was not changed. So that is why we use what do we call as set state. So what do we use here is this dot set state, and inside our set state we basically just pass in the new state. So now what we are going to do is count is going to be this dot state dot count plus one, and that's it. And now you will see the magic started working. That looks cool, right? That is super amazing. And let me remove this alert statement from here. So as Akshat was saying that we could use state function component as well. So let's create another banner, a counter component, which will be completely purely functional. And trust me, guys, after that, I'm actually going to jump on to our main app for today, which is going to be Portfolio website. And don't worry about that. We still have 45 minutes, right? That's enough time. Don't worry. We are going to cover everything. And I hope that you guys are liking this video. If you like this video, again, do subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/theleanprogrammer. I'm at 2.85K subscribers. So yeah, I hope that since around 80 people are watching this video, so I hope that my subscriber count goes more than 2.9K today. Okay, enough promotion. But yeah, okay, cool. So what I want you guys to do here is, so basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to convert this banner into a pure functional component. Let's see how we can do that. Let me create a counter component, let's say counter.js. And now I am going to create a pure functional component. How? Again, first of all, import the dependencies. And here we are going to import one more dependency, which is useState. Cool. So instead of doing all this thing like constructor, this useState, I'll do that. UseState equal to a React hook. So this is called a React hook. So basically, why are they called React hook? Basically, they hook the class, the functionalities, the features that class-based components give you into the functional component. That is why they're called React hooks. So yes, a simple example of React hook. Instead of doing all this thing, what we can do here is we can const, let's say, counter component. Again, it is basically going to have a functional component, and first of all, like this is how we create a state in a class-based component, and in a functional component we create the state using this. We just declare a variable, let's say a count. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a sort of array of count, comma, update count or set count. And we are going to use this useState like this, useState of 0. So what we are going to do here is basically this useState is returning us the count and set count, and with the default value of 0. So now the default value of count is going to be 0. Cool, right? Till now, if you have any doubts, just let me know. And as you guys remember that in our functional components, so basically if you guys are not aware, this is the pre-ES6 syntax of creating a function, and this is arrow function. So this is also a function. This is equivalent to this thing. Now this is a like function, and that was an arrow function. More or less they are same, but there is basically something like there are some few advantages and some disadvantages of using arrow functions. I find arrow functions to be more and more convenient. So Shubham is saying that he did not get hooks. Don't worry about that. You can read more about that since it's not a topic. React hooks is a big topic which actually demands a separate webinar on that. I will definitely love to take a separate webinar on, first of all, basic concepts of React again on my YouTube channel. Secondly, using React hooks. What is React hooks? And third, using Redux. How can we use Redux? So yes, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to cover everything maybe later on. But yeah, for the scope of this webinar, I think that will be too much to cover. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to tell you an example of how basically these hooks hook the functionalities and features that class-based components give us into the functional components. So basically, I'm telling you that by default, functional component do not have this concept of state. But using this useState hook, we can actually maintain a state inside our functional components as well. Cool. So how we are going to do is, as you can see, we just need to return this is a functional component, right? So as you can see, we just need to return some HTML from our functional component, right? And then export default the counter. Now, as you can see, instead of using banner, I am going to use the counter here. Again, import counter and then use this thing. So as you can see, now I have saved it and it will be visible on the screen. This is a functional component. Magic, right? So basically by doing this, we are calling that functional component counter. So as you can see now, let's replicate that. Let's add another h2 element. The count is Again, one more thing, that whenever you wish to use any variable which is outside our return statement, you need to wrap it inside a curly brace. Always remember this. Whenever we need to use any variable, for example, this one, which is outside our HTML, because HTML does not have a concept of variables, right? This state.count, this is a variable. So whenever we need to use any JavaScript expression or any JavaScript variable, any expression, we need to wrap it inside our curly braces. So now we are going to use count. Cool. So as you can see now, count is equal to 0. That was great. That was super amazing. And what I'm going to do is copy and paste this update counter and remove all these things. And I am going to. So basically, the difference between this and this is that now this method is basically again a sort of a variable inside our function itself. This is a function, and we have another method inside our function. So this we can call a function itself, because this is not a class method, but this is a class method. That is why we did not need to declare it like this. But here we need to declare it as a variable to use it. Cool. Again, we are going to use onClick, and again we are going to call the date counter. Let's see what happens. Nothing happened. This is weird. This is okay because I did not call it. Either I could have done like this, where I just pass this component. Now it will run. Or I could have called it. So basically our onClick synthetic event, this is called a synthetic event, which is a sort of React version of HTML event. This expects a function definition, not a function call. So as you can see here, this is a function definition. So either we can directly pass this variable update counter as a function definition, or we can pass the function definition, a new function definition, which calls our update counter. Cool, right? Hello, hello, and hello once again. So now we are going to update this thing. How we are going to do that? We are going to set count and pass on the new count, which will be count +1. And that is it. So using this set count does the same thing as set state. The difference is here we were passing the new state object, and here we are passing the new count object. This count can be a string, this can be a object, this can be anything. So what is the use of set count? Set count is not a default function which React provides us. It could be anything like new count. So what it does is it updates the state. Our count is basically using state, and it updates the state. So that is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you can see, it worked. Had to work. I'm creating it, right? Why wouldn't it work? Because I am creating it. Cool. That was so much overconfidence. Overconfidence skills. You should not have so much overconfidence. Cool. So yeah, now this is working. Just one last concept for today, and then we are going to jump straight into our portfolio. Let's take 1 minute break here, guys. My throat is messed up. let me take 1 minute break again. All right, guys, I am back, and now we are going to discuss one final concept for today, which is props. So as of now, we have discussed components, we have discussed one-way data flow, we have discussed JSX, we have discussed state, we have discussed lifecycle methods. Lifecycle methods, let me give you an example of lifecycle method. For example, before this component launches, let's say we need to set the value of our count to be, let's suppose 10. So we can do that using component did mount, or maybe component. Yeah. So by doing this, basically this function, this method will. Okay, so Akshat tells me that if React does not provide us set count, React is providing us use state, and set count is coming from use state. I hope this answers your question, Akshat. Cool. So component did mount basically will run before this thing is mounted on the screen. So before this thing is mounted, I can basically do an alert that banner is going to mount. Cool. Let me use the banner again. If I refresh this, it says banner is going to mount. If I refresh my page, basically what happens is before this component has mounted on our page, this component did mount thing runs. And once it runs, we can do anything we want with it. We can, for example, set state and set the state from count to be, let's check 10. And now the initial count is going to be 10. As you can see. So basically these lifecycle methods are nothing but some methods which run on different life cycles, stages of the components. Cool. Looks quite cool. And one final thing to discuss today will be our props. Again, I have moved that to a functional component. So basically we can pass on some data. Let's say here, instead of this is my functional component, I need to change this. This is Madhav's functional component. Cool. Let's say what if this Madhav is available on the app and I need to take this. This is not a constant, this is a variable. So for that, I can pass it on here using this thing, using props. And how? Using this name equal to Madhav. So now I have access to this thing, name equal to Madhav, and I can do this as props dot name. And as you can see, this Madhav will be there. And let's say since Akshat was the last person I talked to in this webinar, if I change this to Akshat, it is going to update Akshat's functional component. And now this data is coming from our app.js to our counter.js. This is the concept of props. Basically, if we need to pass on some data from a parent component to a child component, we need props. And if you are good in JavaScript, you would know the concept of destructuring. Basically, what we can do is we can just destructure it from here as well. We can just type in name and we can directly use the name. Don't worry too much about it. This is just a syntactic sugar. If you don't know what is syntactic sugar is, syntactic sugar means an ease of syntax. Cool, right? Great. So now we are done with almost all the basic concepts of React and now we are going to discuss our portfolio. Yeah. Cool. So this is
sorry to interrupt you, sir, but we will just take a break of 5 minutes.
Definitely. I need that. Yes. Thanks a lot, Vidhi. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So let's utilize this break and let me invite Karan Jagtiani. He is the president of Revolution Software Development Club and he will talk to you about our club and what we do. So good evening, Karan. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Ritu. Just let me know if I'm properly audible or not.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, great. So good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are enjoying the session so far. And if you have any questions, so you can keep asking them in the YouTube live chat itself. And after the technical session is over, we will also be having a dedicated question and answer session. So It won't be for too long, as the technical part may take most of the chunk of time which we have left for now. So, but still we will have a dedicated question and answer session. So stay tuned for that. So about our club and what we do. So we basically conduct sessions like this regularly, where you get to know the first-hand experience from industry professionals, as well as we conduct workshops on technical topics like the basics of JavaScript or the Angular framework. So yes, we know that Angular is the competitor of React, but as we have already discussed in this session as well, that Angular is a completely different thing. It's a framework. React is a library. So if you are interested in learning that as well, we have a technical workshop on Angular on this channel itself. So you can check that out, and do subscribe to our channel and turn on post notifications if you want to stay updated on such future sessions that we will be conducting. Then on social media, what we do is we post technical content like information about trending technologies, quizzes, memes, news, and a lot of different type of things related to technology itself. So do follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for this type of content. All the links, whatever I'm talking about, they are given down in the description box. So if you are interested in these types of things, so you can definitely follow us. Then on the other hand, on LinkedIn, we solely post about our sessions and interview preparation questions, as well as questions which are asked in the GATE exam. So if you are interested in preparing for the GATE exam, or if you want to know some of the basic questions that are asked in technical interviews of tech giants, so you can follow us on LinkedIn. We cover major topics like data structures and algorithms, operating system, computer networking, and etc. So it's not too much, like it's a small question every day. I know it's not too much, but it will definitely help you in the long run. So if you're in third year or second year, we definitely suggest you that you start from today itself. So definitely follow us on LinkedIn for this type of content. You guys following us and showing your support will not only help you stay updated regarding the technologies and everything, but it also helps us. It helps us a lot, and it motivates us to keep doing this for you guys, make more content, invite more industry professionals, and deliver more information to you guys. So do follow us and show us your support. So yes, this was it from my side. Thank you for being patient with me and listening to what I had to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Karan. So let's get back to the session. So yes, sir, please continue.
Great. Cool. So let me share my screen once again. Am I presenting? I don't think so. All right. So let me know if you guys can see my screen. I have started presenting. And yeah, I think we can see the screen now. Cool. So let's continue with our portfolio website now, the final section for today. So before going further, I'm just going to explain you how the boilerplate code is structured. So as I told you in the beginning of the webinar as well, that basically our structure is this thing that first thing is public. In public, we have the index.html and whatnot. So yeah. Also, just give me a moment. Let me close the Playground app because I'm getting confused with the two VS Code opened. Okay, and then let me open the boilerplate code again, code dot. So this basically I'm telling you, so now you should follow hands-on. So this is the hands-on section. So yes, just go to the folder where you have cloned the repository, and once you are there, just open the command prompt and start. If you just do npm start. Before doing that, just open your text editor as well. Since mine is VS Code, I have opened code dot, and then npm start. Okay, did I not install node modules? Just give me 1 minute. Okay, what wrong happened? Just give me a moment. Let me have a look into what went wrong. Shouldn't take more than a minute. Okay. So let me close. Oh, so that see that npm installation was stuck. Like sometimes it happens, it's Windows, and sometimes it gets stuck. So don't worry, I already have that boilerplate code installed on my system. So let me open that once more. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open code. Don't worry. This is nothing. This is just I'm just opening the boilerplate code in my text editor, which is React, which is VS Code, and then I'm just doing npm start. That's it. If you have npm install done successfully, you will not see any problems. If you see any problems, mostly doing an npm install will fix it. If it does not get fixed, feel free to ask me again. So let's just wait till it gets started. Cool, it looks good enough. And yeah, something is already running on port 3000. Since my other application is running on port 3000, so either I can close that and then try again, or I can just do a separate port. So basically it will launch our application on separate port, and then it will start our development server. So basically what is happening here is, as I told you in the beginning as well, so one thing is this public folder, which will contain our which is going to contain all these things, the index.html, the metadata, and all those things, and so the manifest.json, which is actually important if you are creating a progressive web app, and all those things. But we are not going to go too much deep inside it. So yes, once this is launched, you will see hello world. But yes, let's not go too much deep inside it. And how SRC is structured. So basically, most of our code is inside the SRC. And then cool. So inside SRC, as you can see in our previous project, basically I had the components directly inside SRC. But just imagine if, let's suppose we have hundreds of components, then having every component inside a SRC folder is going to be very, very bad. Like it's going to be very unmaintainable, and it's going to be very complex. So instead, what I do is, this is my directory structure which I follow. You can follow something else, completely else. It's completely up to you. So what I follow is basically I have this components folder, and within which repository. So basically, if you haven't followed me in the starting, this is the repository, github.com/madhavbahl/portfolio boilerplate. So yeah. Cool. So yeah, coming back. So I have these components. So first, so what I do is I create a folder inside SRC, which is for components. And inside those components, I create a separate folder for every component. And inside that component, I will have a JavaScript file, a CSS file, which is separately for that particular component, and a test file if I need to do some testing as well. So yes, it will be something like this. About.test.js. So a JavaScript, a test, and a CSS file. So I hope this is clear to you. So we have these particular components. First of all, we have our app. Let me show you this in the real time. This whole container is going to be our app. Then we have this portfolio component. This is the portfolio component. Then we have a side nav. This is going to be our side nav component. Then we have about section. This is going to be our about section. Then we have a skills component. This is going to be our skills component. Within skills, we are going to have our cards. This is going to be a skill card. And within our projects, we are going to have a project component. Where did it go? Yeah, project. And within our project, we are going to have a project card component. Cool. So we can use Bootstrap with React. Definitely, you can. You can use any library which you want. Plus, for component itself, there is this thing called React Bootstrap. You can go here, React Bootstrap. But since this is a beginner level webinar, I am not using React Bootstrap. Like, I just feel that if you are starting off with a library or a framework or with any technology, instead of jumping on to libraries and frameworks at the start itself, you should actually discover the, like, without using any library or framework, and then you should jump onto libraries and frameworks. So yeah, why is it not running? Cool. So once it is running, you can see now our main entry point is the index.js. Within our index, we are calling app. So this is our main entry point of our application. What it does is, it's a, like, I hope that you guys are easily able to understand what is happening here. It's a simple class-based component which is having a constructor in which we are just setting an empty state, and then we are rendering a hello world. Nothing more complicated. Why do we have this boilerplate in place? Because I don't want you guys to waste time in CSS. I have already done that for you guys. Plus, we are discussing React here, so we should not spend too much time on CSS. So I have CSS in place for each and everything that you require for today. Thank me for that later on. Cool. Let's get started. So our hello world application. So first of all, what we need to do here was, you might have guessed it, but before we go further, just one more thing. So all this data which I am displaying here, like about me, if you love life, don't waste time. Basically, I have that also ready for you guys. In your constants, I have this ready for each one of you. So basically what I'm doing is, I have structured this app. So design is completely up to you guys. So this is just a sample design. This is what I made, like just a sample. So based on that design, I have set it to be like, every section is going to have a title, like about me, skills, projects. And below that title, there is going to be a quote. So every section is going to have that. And then it is going to have the main content. So this is how I have structured our design for today. So what I have in place is, I have the data for each and everything that you need. For about, I need a heading, I need a quote, and I need a bio. For my projects, I need a heading, I need a quote, and I need the list of projects, right? The list of projects. So I have all of that ready in place for all of you guys. So coming on, so first of all, this thing seems to be our app.js. Cool. So from our app.js, as you can notice, we are going to call our portfolio component. So let's call that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to split it right so that it's open here every time. And then I'm going to open my portfolio component. What I can do is, instead of calling this hello world, I can call my portfolio here. Again, the simple steps, it will import the portfolio from React and so on, from portfolio, and it's going to look like this. So this CSS, I have already made it ready in place for you guys. So it is going to look like this. So again, don't forget to import it. And as someone asked me in the starting that, like, what is the difference between this and why is it in curly braces? So this is like, this is not a default export. Instead, we could have done it like this, like export default, then portfolio. And now we don't need this in brackets. So that's how to use default exports and non-default exports. Nothing break, everything is in place. But let me undo all these things, and let me do that again. Cool. So Shubham just asked me that what we do by tests.js. So basically, tests.js, what happens is, this is just a naming convention in React. Basically, what we do is, for, like, let's say if I have to add test cases by test I mean unit tests. Unit tests can be for logic testing, logic or snapshot testing. That will be again out of scope for today's webinar, like since we are already out of time. But yes, you can. That is used for unit tests. That's it. And that's a convention that if we have to add test, we will write the name of the component like portfolio dot test, and then we'll add a dot test dot js. That's it. And then we are going to write the logic for our tests. So till now, what we have done is we have just imported the portfolio from our portfolio boilerplate. So I'm going to take 1 minute break again. And if you guys have any queries, I'm going to give you this time to follow along. If you guys have not cloned the repository, it's your time to clone. And so Cool Coder just asked me that can we get this video for download? Not download, but you can. It will be available on this link itself. So I think this is going to be available on their YouTube channel, the Revolution SDC YouTube channel. You can see it anytime you want. So yeah, you can. Plus again, a little bit of promotion because I have to do it. I am going to add a lot of videos on React.js, Vue.js, AngularJS, Flutter, and everything that you can think of in future with time. So you can definitely jump onto my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Cool. Okay. So yes, I'm giving you 1 minute break to follow up everything that we have done till now, and then we will continue. Just 1 minute, and then we'll continue. Cool guys, so we are back here, and now, so very simple. I have that portfolio, the styling for that portfolio ready in place with you for our today's purpose. So now basically what we need to do is we need to have within that portfolio, we need to have one side nav container. This is going to be our side nav container, and this is going to be our main section. So this is going to be our main section container. So we have divided our portfolio into two parts. First part is side nav container, and the second part is going to be our main section container, which is going to have all the data. So what I want you guys to do is from your portfolio, I want you guys to call the side nav container. So what is the side nav? Again, it's an empty container. Let's have an h1 here, which says hello. That's it. And so basically what I did was I have side nav container in place for you guys. That's just an empty functional component. What I did here is I just wrote an h1, and let me just import it here from within our portfolio. So I hope that the hierarchy is clear to you. First of all, our topmost container is our app, the topmost component. From our app.js, we are calling portfolio. This is the portfolio. So within our portfolio, we have two containers. The first one is the side nav container, and the second one is the main section container. From our side nav container, we are going to call this side nav. Again, it's very simple. Just import the side nav and just write it down like this one. As simple as that. And as you can see, now we have hello written here. So what I'm going to do from side nav is I am going to have an image here. Oh, not here. So basically in our side nav, let's make our side nav functional. So basically now we are making things functional one by one. And that's how we work in React. Firstly, we would do something with one component. We will finish that component. We'll jump onto a child component. We'll finish that child component and so on. So yes, now let's finalize our side nav component. So I am just going to add a very, very basic image here. It is my avatar. You can add any image you want, like, and don't worry, you can see the finished code here itself, which is github.com/Madhav Bahl/portfolio. And don't worry about this, that we have potential vulnerabilities. You can easily fix the vulnerabilities using an npm audit fix. Do learn more about it, but yeah. So what I did here was I just added my image here and it appeared. And now I need to add some more things, right? Let's say an h2 tag with the name. Looks cool. h2 and Madhav Bahl. Cool, right? But I have some styling for it, right? So in the side nav.css, I have decided the class main name. So if you know HTML, a little bit of HTML, we have class selectors, and for this class selector called main name, I have these particular styles. So if it was an HTML thing, we could have written like this: h2 and class equal to main nav, something like that, right? Main name. But this will not work here because this is a JavaScript file, and the compiler might get confused whether this is HTML class or whether this is let's say a JavaScript class. So instead of class, we write class name here. So this is something that React provides us. It's cool, and I'm going to put the class name as side name. Cool enough? This looks awesome, man. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more section for, let's say I'm going to add a P for a cadet to code. This is some simple, very simple HTML, which I hope that you might be understanding. If you are not understanding HTML, then you need to get your basics clear of HTML and JavaScript. I'm going to just add CSS as well. So yeah, I'm just going to add a class name here. Again, let's say I'm going to add a div with the class name of, let's say, what was the class name? The class name was sections list. So don't worry, this is some basic HTML and CSS. Do not worry about this. This is something which you can very easily do. So now what I am going to do is I need sort of click events for, like, I would need, first of all, I need this heading title, like about me, section, skills, and all those things. I'm going to add about me. Let's see how it looks. About me. And to add the stylings, I am going to add the section list element class here. Class name equal to section list element. Cool. And now you can see I have added the stylings. Like, this becomes much more better. And I'm going to copy and paste it 2 times to create skills and projects. Looks good, right? And now we have our first component ready. And this is something which you made on your own. So if you are stuck somewhere, anywhere, let's take 1 more minute break so that you can rewind the video of last 5 minutes and see what all things did I do. I want all of you to follow along. So that would be very, very amazing. Just 1 minute and we'll. Cool. So I hope that you guys are able to follow along and you don't have any problem. And I don't see any doubts in the comment section as well. So thanks a lot, Shruti, for the appreciation. And let's continue with our project. So yes, our first component, which is the side nav, is ready, and we can probably close it or let it be open. So now what do we want? Now we want this to work on this particular thing, the main section. So as you can see here, I have a component ready in place for you guys, which is called, let me find which is this side nav section container. So as you can see, we have a section container here. Let's type h1 hello, and with this one, I am just going to call it like section container. And basically what it does is I'm just importing section container from our section container file, and then we are just calling it here. As simple as that. And as you can see, it did write hello. So very, very simple, very simple. And let's work it out completely. So as you can see in our section component, we have, first of all, we have this heading, then we have this quote, and then we have this whole like about or skills or project and so on. So what do we need to do here now is we need to add some things like let's say in the section container, instead of this thing h1, first of all let me apply some stylings. So with the styling, let me add main heading. So don't worry about that, I'm just taking this from section container CSS file. It is main heading, and it is just some simple about me. It is some simple what do we call it, HTML and CSS. And now I'm going to have the code, this particular code, and the class name for that is going to be main code. Cool. And then we can have something like follow the lean programmer. I never miss a chance to promote. Cool. So what are we going to do here is, so now we have one part of our main section container ready. Let's make it functional. Either we can go and design our about me and skill section and so on, or we can make this thing functional. I prefer making things functional as soon as possible, and this is just a personal thing that I prefer. So yes, what I'm going to do here now is I am going to go back to my app.js and then pass on these things, these about me and all these things from the let's say app.js. So first of all, what I need to do here is I need to import my constants. So our constant is about experiences I have not added till now. That can be a homework for you guys, and skills.js. So let's add that one by one. How are we going to do that? Very, very simple. Let me just restructure the imports, and import, it's going to be, the name of the export is about. So about from dot slash constants slash about. As simple as that. And now I'm going to copy and paste it 3 times. One for about, one for projects, and one for skills. As simple as that. Now we have all these constants imported in our app.js. Now what I'm going to do is, firstly, I'm going to define my state. So in my state, what all things can we have? Let's see. Firstly, we can have the selected container, which is the selected section. So for that, let's say I can have selected section as maybe about. Cool, looks right. Selected heading, how about so this thing can change, right? So let me have a selected heading in place. So for example, initially it can be an empty string. Cool. Or let's say my section, and let's say a selected what all things can be there, code, selected code, my code, right? Selected heading and a selected code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass on these things, selected heading and selected code, from my app to portfolio, and from my portfolio to my section container. Looks cool. I am going to pass it on here like this, selected section equal to, let's say, this dot state dot selected section. And we can have similar thing for selected heading equal to selected heading. This dot state dot selected heading, and selected quote equal to this dot state dot selected quote. Cool. And as I told you that these things are called props. Shubham Banerjee asked me that is it responsive? I think it should be. Like, I didn't spend too much time on the CSS part, but it should be responsive. Let's check it out whether it is responsive or not. Yeah, it is responsive. It is quite responsive. I love doing CSS. Front end is amazing. Cool. So now what we have here is we are passing all this data as our prop to our portfolio component. Let's jump back to portfolio. And from here, as you know, we can now extract out these props. And that's something very, very, very cool. And then we can have a selected quote as well. And now what we can do is we can pass that on as it is to our section container. Selected heading equal to selected heading, selected section equal to selected section, selected quote equal to selected quote. So now you can see, right, here's a lot of duplicacy of code, right? We are duplicating this code here and here, and that is where your Redux comes into the picture. Redux, basically what it does is it removes this state from the React components and it places it in a separate place from where the components can fetch the data. But we are not going to discuss that today, otherwise it's going to take a lot of time. So yes, let's do that section container here, and from our section container, as you know, we already have this section, selected section, then we have the selected heading. Same thing, a lot of duplicate code, and that's the bad thing in state management, and that's where Redux comes into the picture. You can read more about Redux, it is going to help you a lot. So selected heading and selected quote. Looks good, right? And now if I refresh this page, you're going to see that about me is going to change into my section. Let me save this state, my section, and it did. Magic. It's amazing, right? I hope you guys are able to follow. What I did was nothing but as simple as I added all these things in my state. From this state, I passed this data on to the props of portfolio. Within that portfolio, I extracted these things from the props and passed it down to the props of section container. From section container, I displayed it to the screen. So one more section is complete and we are more closer towards building the final app. But so let's take 1 more minute break and see if you guys have any doubt. Okay, I'm too tired for today, but I'm not going to stop here because this is our portfolio website and we are going to make it. Cool. So now, since we have already done this thing, let's integrate the selected state first. Or yeah, looks cool. We can. So let's do one thing. Now let me tell you how to do this particular thing. Like once we click this, then this should change. these things are sibling components. These are not having direct parent-child relationship, right? Let me show it to you, like what is happening. So our app has one child, which is portfolio, and our portfolio has two children. One is side nav and one is section container. So as you can see, this side nav and section container are at the same level. They are sibling components. They are not parent and child. Then how are we going to change the data from here to here? We do that using a callback method. Let me tell you how it is implemented. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function inside our app.js, which I'm going to name it as, let's say anything. It can be handle section click or something. Yep. Handle section click. And that is going to be our arrow function. And we are just going to alert pull. So basically what it is doing is it's just a method which is doing some alert. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pass this method as my props, and listen to it very, very carefully. It is one of the biggest concepts in React if you are not using Redux, because you will have to transfer data from the sibling components, right? So this is an important concept. Like instead of just passing on the variables, we can even pass on functions as props. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on this handle section click here, this dot handle section click, and I am going to import it in my portfolio as a prop, since it's a prop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it again to my side nav component. As simple as that. Give me a moment. I'm just super tired. Cool, guys. My throat was paining a lot, so I had to take a break. Cool. So what did we do is we just took out handle section click and passed it on to the props of side nav. Now let's go inside side nav, and inside side nav, let's extract it out. And what are we going to do here is we are going to add an on-click method here. And inside that on-click, I am going to call my handle section click. And let's copy and paste to each and every this whole. So always keep in mind that your code should be dry. Dry means don't repeat myself. And as you can see, I'm repeating a lot, like this on click. This has been repeated 3 times. So what you could have done is you could have created an array of your sections, like about me, skills, projects, and you could have iterated over them. So that would reduce your duplication of code. But still, that is the refactoring of code that you can do it yourself. I just need to deliver the message here that the React components. So what will happen is now whenever we click on these about me section or skills, what will happen is it will run this thing, handle section click. Where is this coming from? This is coming from props, and this is coming from props of section of portfolio. And then it will run this thing, this handle section click. This is coming from the props of app.js, and here it will actually call this function. So let me see whether this works. Refresh the page, and it works. Can you see the magic here? That I am clicking this inside the side nav component, but the method which is getting clicked, which is getting triggered, is an app component. And now let's add one more step to it. Let's pass on the data. Let's say side nav, and let me pass a string section name. And now I can replace it by this thing by you see this? I'm basically expecting a section name from here, and I'm just alerting the section name was clicked. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on this here about, then skills, and then projects. And now what you're going to see is about was clicked, skills was clicked. Now I hope that you are getting it. Basically what I'm doing is I'm passing the data from child component to parent component. What I'm doing is I call the method handle section click with the name of the section from my from my section container like side nav, and it takes that data to the app.js, and we are displaying that in the app.js, and that is seriously something amazing. Now let's take it to one final step. What we can do is we can just update, like instead of alerting, we can update the state. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to call this dot set state, and here I'm going to pass on the new state, which is the selected section is going to be the section name. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, what I can do here is, since our first section is going to be, let's comment it for now. Like instead of using my section and my code inside this selected heading, what I am going to do here is basically we have this about section in place, right? And our first section is going to be about section. So I'm just going to call this heading from my about thing. So what is this going to do? It is going to call about dot heading, and then it is going to call about dot quote. As you can see now, if I refresh the page, it took the data from my constants file. It took the data from my about.js. The heading is about me, and the quote is, if you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. Perfect, amazingly perfect. And now what we are going to do is we are going to update the state by using, so just keeping this in mind that this section name is going to be the same as the name of this particular variable. So what we are going to do here is basically we are going to have one more thing. Let's say what can we do here? Let me think about it. We can do one thing like we can add, let's say we can add an about which will contain the complete about section, and we can add let's say projects, which is going to contain the projects and this whole data, and then we can add the skills, which is going to contain the skills. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to update the selected heading from this dot state. Just keep this, see what I'm doing. It's a sort of logic which I'm following here. I'm calling the section name. Just keep this in mind that section name is going to be either about or projects or skills, right? So the name, these strings are same here. For these things, you should have a separate file for strings. But yes, that and all is just refactoring, which you can do, which you guys can do it yourself. So yeah, this dot state of, let's say, section name, and then I can call the heading from there. Looks cool, sounds amazing. Let's see if this is going to work. And dot quote. Okay, let's see if it's going to work or not. It's a lot of logic at the same time, and it worked. It's amazing, cool. So as you can see, now we have made the transition between this, and now we just need to do one final thing, which is show this section. Either this should be about, or it should be skills, or it should be projects based on the selected section that we have. So now let's jump back to our section container, and as you can see in the section container, we have the access to our selected section. So what we are going to do here is we are going to do something magical here. What I'm going to do is just have a look at this one. What am I going to do here is I'm going to type about. If the section is about, I'm just going to create this thing. Okay, about, and this is going to be an about. Let me import it first of all. Okay, let me show this to you one by one, otherwise it will get a lot very confusing. About.js, why is it not recognizing it? I'm not sure. Let me see. Ideally it should recognize it, and it did. About. Cool. So basically now what it does, it prints hello. And similarly we have one for about, one for projects. Similarly for projects also we can have projects, and what we can do is instead of about we can have a projects here, and this will import the projects component, and it turns into projects. And one last thing, and we also have skills. So for skills we can import skills, right? So if we do skills, it is going to do this. So now we have these three things in place, which is about component, projects component, skills component. We have these three components in place. But what we need to do is we need to display this particular component based on our selected section variable. So I'm going to do something which you are going to not like or not understand at first place. This is something JavaScript hack. Like, you can just think about it. What I'm going to do is I just need to type in something like this. If selected section equal to about, then display about, and something like this, right? Else if it is projects, then I need to display projects, and so on. So instead of doing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an object with the key about. This is a sort of hash map, you can say, with the key about and the value as our about component. The second key will be projects, and the value is going to be our projects component, and the third key is going to be our skills, and it's going to be skills component. And I'll just call this particular object with our selected section, and some magic is going to happen here. Be ready to see the magic. Awesome, guys, awesome. So now we are almost 90% done with our app, and I'm super excited to finish this. We are not going anywhere without finishing the app. So yes, let's do it. So in our about section, what we need to display, we just need to display our bio, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to pass on this section itself in the props. So this is just not here, here. About this dot state dot about, and then I'm also going to pass on projects, which is going to be this dot state dot projects, and I'm also going to pass on skills, this dot state dot skills. Cool thing, man, cool. So now we have access to project, skills, and all this information, basically all this information inside our portfolio. Let's go inside our portfolio, and here let's extract it out about projects and skills. I know this might be very confusing, but just hold on for a minute and you are going to understand everything that I am saying. And here also we need to pass about. So that's, I think you are guessing, I think you are able to understand that how difficult can state management be. This is just a simple application. This is just a application with less than 10 components, and still we are needed to pass so many props and so many state and all those things. So now you are understanding why Redux is very important. So I will definitely recommend you guys to explore Redux after this webinar. That is going to help you a lot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on about to the props of about, projects to the props of projects, and skills to the props of skills. And now, as you might have guessed, we have access to the about inside about, and this is about. And instead of hello, what I'm going to do is I am just going to display the about.bio. And you are going to see another magic. Ta-da! We have 95% of our app ready. Similar thing we need to do for our project section as well. So for our projects, again, just give me a moment. I am almost done. So for our projects, what we are going to do is, as you can see here, we have the access to projects, but what we are doing here is this project has a list of things. So as you can see, this is a list. This is not a string. So we cannot do something like let's say projects dot let's say project list. This is a data structure. This is not a string. So this is going to give us an error. If we try to click on projects, it will show us nothing. So instead, what we are going to do here is we are going to map. We are going to iterate. Map is a helper method which comes along with ESX JavaScript, which is just like a for loop, you can say, with return something. So what we are going to do is we are going to project list dot map, and when this is just like a iterating function. Inside map, we will have the availability of each project, and corresponding to that project, I am just going to display a project card. So how does our project card look? Let's say like this is a project. Cool. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call my project card. And that's it. So now, if you see the project, this is a project. This looks so cool, right? And now we just need to pass on the prop here, which is the project name, description, and link. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass on the project details as it is, and it is going to be, let's say, project. Looks good, right? And this will have a name, description, and list. So let's go inside the project card, and inside our project card, let's have a p tag for, let's say, name. Name is going to be our, and we have our project here, right? So name is going to be project.name. Similarly, I'm going to have description. Description is going to be project.description. And the link is going to be project.link. Now you're going to see another magic. I see, name of undefined. Cool. So this became a little bit undefined. And why did it happen? Let me see. Because something bad must have happened. Let's project. Let's not think too much about it right now. Since we are just running out of time, let me just so your homework for today is going to be figure out what happened wrong here, and ideally it should have worked, but some things. I see. It was not project. It was it was project details. Cool. I got it. And things are under control. No need to worry. So the thing is, the name of the prop was not project, it was project details. Let's go inside this and project details dot name dot link. And we are done with another section. And that's it. We are done for today. Let's add maybe a BR. Cool. Projects. So now your homework for today is the skill section is going to be absolutely same as your projects here. So the homework for today is after this webinar, what you need to do is let's end this webinar here since we are already much out of time. So your homework basically is like, if you want, there's no such thing as homework. Like if you want to explore more, if you like this webinar, if you like React.js in general, what you can do is, first of all, you can host this app on GitHub pages. Here's a resource which will help you to do this. Just go to medium.com and type in how to deploy your React app on GitHub pages. This is the blog which I wrote a long back, which will help you a lot. So this will help you how to deploy your application. The next thing is complete the skills section. It is going to be exactly similar. As you can see, it is exactly similar to the project section. The third thing is study React Router. Maybe you can convert, maybe like if you want, you can convert, as I told you about the use state hook, you can probably convert this app class component into a functional component, and you can even study Redux. So I guess this is it for today, and I hope that you like the webinar. If you like the webinar, of course, do go to my YouTube channel and do like, share, and subscribe. And thanks a lot for Revolution SDC for organizing this webinar. I really loved interacting with all the students today. And do subscribe to their channel as well. It is Revolution SDC. And looking forward for more. I will keep on adding videos related to React and all. So yes, that's it for today.
Yes, sir. We will wait for a few minutes if there are any questions from the students. So if you can answer them, and then we will end the webinar.
I might have to jump on to another webinar.
That's
so
all
I might
right.
not be
That's
able
all.
to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, so if you guys have any doubt, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or maybe you can send a mail to me. It is theleanprogrammer@gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So we hope everyone's questions are answered. Regarding the certificate for this session, you need to submit an assignment to us. The details are up on the screen right now, given in the description box, as well as it will be shared on our WhatsApp group. Let's end this session on a positive note. Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session. We hope that all our viewers gain some knowledge from it. We appreciate you for taking out your valuable time from your schedule to share your knowledge with us. Thank you everyone for being part of this workshop. We hope you enjoyed it and gained some valuable insights about React. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. See you later. Stay tuned.